Hey there, all you ghouls and goblins. Radio 85.9 proudly presents Horror Zoid with your hosts, Stevie Scares and Natalie Nightmare, talking all things horror from the 80s, 90s, and today. Today's episode is brought to you by Ghoulberry Crunch Cereal. All new recipe, same great taste, now with 13% more added sugars to kill you sooner. Welcome back to another episode of Horror Zoid, everybody. I am Stevie Scares.
And I'm Natalie Nightmare.
And today, if this sounds familiar to you, it's because we've done it before and we're remaking it. It's all about remakes today. All about remakes. Now, before we get into it, we got to lay some ground rules for this shit because there's so many things that Natalie and I were talking about that...
This got a lot more difficult than what I thought.
It really did. Like, I didn't expect to get into as heated of a discussion as we did. Like, it almost came to fisticuffs.
We fought.
And Natalie was going to kick my ass. And I just couldn't have that happen. So... yeah, so before we get into it, again, we're going to lay some ground rules. First thing that I got to say is we will not be talking about some of the shit that has been done to death, i.e., the Universal monsters was one thing that we had to rule out. Yeah,
we started thinking about Dracula, and they can stray quite far from the source material, and then it was like, well, what is a Dracula remake? And so all of that stuff we're just not fucking with. It's for another episode, I think, honestly.
Exactly, yeah. The Universal monsters will probably necessitate its own episode at some point. We'll talk all about the Universal monsters. We'll get the whole fucking box set here. We will just binge watch it one day and just do an episode for you guys. Or maybe that's something we save for Patreon.
Oh, there we go.
You know what? We're not going to be talking about the Universal monsters, so no Draculas, no Invisible Mans, no Frankensteins, none of that shit. If you came for that, sorry about you. Fuck out of here. We will also not be talking about legacy sequels, requels, whatever the fuck you want to call them. We're not talking about those.
Yeah.
One we had to rule out that kind of broke our hearts is Evil Dead 2013.
Yes. A lot of people, we've even had a couple comments about it. Unfortunately, we'll get to it a little bit more, but it's just one we're not going to talk about.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2013 technically is not a remake when you get down to it. There is an Ash, but he's the original Ash, and he's in that post-credit scene that we see. It's kind of a new story, new narrative. Yeah. I consider it like Evil Dead 4 at that point.
Honestly, yeah, the timeline, it kind of matches up. So, and that kind of goes into some of our rules for what makes a remake, and that involves the characters. So it's obviously not a remake if Ash is an older Ash and it's still there.
Yeah.
Now if, her name was Ashley and we could say, oh, cool, it's just a remake with, recasting the main character. That's cool. But it's not a remake. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. It broke our hearts.
We fucking love that movie, though.
We love Evil Dead 2013, and it was one that we originally had on our list to talk about, but we had to draw the line somewhere.
Yep. Technicalities, man.
Yep. There's some great ones that we wanted to talk about that either we haven't seen in a while and we couldn't really speak to in depth, and we just didn't want to rob you guys of something where, so once we actually watch them more in depth or watch them, recently, once it's fresh in our brain, then we'll do an episode on it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many remakes that we could do. This could be a part 2, part 3, part 4.
Oh, and I'm super excited for that because I know that there's going to be movies that people mentioned that we aren't talking about. There's going to be ones that we scrapped from our list that we want to talk about eventually. But like Stevie said, they haven't been seen in years. And unfortunately, until you guys get us big enough for me to leave my full-time job, I don't have a shit ton of time to watch a shit ton of movies before we record. So we kind of had to cut our list down. So we're excited to see what you guys want to hear about, and we can jot those down for another remake.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do another episode on all of these. For instance, I love The Crazies 2010, but Natalie has never seen it.
I've never seen it.
So we can't talk about that one. We won't be talking about that in this one. I like to get that out of the way.
My side of the table.
Yeah, well, I like to get these out of the way so people don't, if you're listening right now and you're like, oh, I can't wait to hear them talk about The Crazies. We're not going to be talking about that. Another one we're not going to be talking about, this is on me, House of Wax. I know Natalie wanted to talk about House of Wax. I haven't seen House of Wax in fucking forever.
Right.
So we're not talking about that one today. Again, just trying to get out some of the ones that we're not going to be talking about. So there's plenty more to discuss. Yeah, we're going to talk about the good remakes. We're going to talk about the good remakes. We're going to talk about the bad remakes. And it's going to be an exciting episode. We can't wait for you guys to hear it. So before we get there, though, we have some housekeeping notes. First things first, as always, leave us a comment wherever you listen to podcasts. It always helps us, helps elevate us, helps spread the word, pushes us up those lists. And when people search for horror podcasts, hopefully we're one of the first ones that they find.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen until you leave us some reviews. So go out wherever you listen to your podcast, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and drop us a line.
Yes, grow the Zoid army.
Grow the Zoid army. Fucking, I want that t-shirt. Grow the Zoid army. That's going to happen.
Done.
But speaking of Spotify, 2 weeks ago on our PG-13 episode, we got a great little line drop to us from Alex Grimm, 1124. Alex Grimm writes, awesome. Like the rest, I remember watching The Grudge in theaters. The jaw scene is very memorable and crazy that was in a PG-13 movie. Couldn't agree more. Can't believe that fucking made it. Some of those kills were pretty fucking hard.
Yeah, the PG-13 episode was a lot of fun. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back and check it out and let us know. It doesn't matter if we're weeks ahead. I don't care if we're on episode 100 and you're like, just listen to episode 2. We want to see those comments and hear what you have to think about it.
Yes, we want to hear it, and we will get better about checking these too. It's still very new to us with these Spotify and Amazon comments. We're happy to get them. We keep asking for them, and now that they're rolling in, again, we're going to get better about reading those in a more timely manner. So yes, that was 2 weeks ago. And if you like anything in this episode, drop us a line, drop us a comment on Spotify. I put polls up too. If you guys like the episode and you want to delve a little bit more into it, check out Spotify. I put questions and polls up. It's kind of fun. I like checking it.
It's super fun, and everyone loves to answer questions and do polls. Like, that's why BuzzFeed's fucking famous. So,
oh my God, BuzzFeed made a fucking living off the fact that people just like to talk about random shit.
What kind of potato dish am I?
What kind of casserole are you? Find out in this quiz.
In the Midwest, man, that's serious business.
It really is. And so in addition to Spotify and comments and stuff, I want to talk about this. This is great. This is huge for us. We celebrated a huge milestone. We surpassed 2,000 followers on TikTok.
Woohoo!
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I can find some fun little sound effect to put in there about like noise blowers. Like
the little...
Yeah. Maybe I can find something like that. But we want to thank everybody who helped us hit that. It was amazing. We couldn't believe that we are hitting these goals right now.
It feels huge for us.
It does. It feels amazing. Neither one of us have ever hit that kind of following on social media. So this is tremendous to us. It tells us that you guys are liking the content we're putting out on there and we're putting out on here. And it means the world to us. And that's why we're able to do this each and every week, is because you guys let us know that it's something you enjoy and it's something we enjoy.
Yeah, you guys are fucking rad.
Yeah, and if you're not following us on TikTok, go follow us.
Smash that follow button.
Smash that subscribe button. Yeah, I hate when people say that. But yes, go follow us. We have a lot of fun on TikTok. We do some crazy videos. Natalie just posted one the other day that's blowing up. It's
Jesus, you guys fucking love that corn song.
Yeah, the kid with who's auto-tuned. It's corn. Big lump with knobs. It has the juice.
So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's on our TikTok, Horrorzoid. But we live in Indiana, and we love Children of the Corn. And it was on the other day, and I just had the thought, this would be perfect, because they have those little weird crucifixes made out of old corn cobs. And it fits so perfect. And I didn't expect that video to go anywhere.
I didn't expect it to blow up as much as it did. Everybody loves the little kid doing the corn video. So it makes sense. And yeah, it really hits home for us, especially. So thank you for helping us hit that milestone. Remember, follow us on TikTok at HorrorzoidPod, Instagram at HorrorzoidPod, email us horrorzoidpod@gmail.com. We're still looking for spooky stories. We're always looking for fucking spooky stories.
Yeah.
And we want ideas for what you guys want to see when we launch Patreon next year. We have a ton of ideas. Literally anytime we have free time, Natalie and I are just brainstorming new ideas for Patreon content. So, but we want to know what you wanted, what you want to hear. Like, you're the ones, if you decide to give us money on Patreon, you are the people we are trying to please, and we want to make you happy. So give us suggestions on content. If you want to see it, we want to make it happen. We want to bring it to life.
Yes.
That's what Patreon's going to be for.
That's it.
And it's going to be a lot of fucking fun.
It's going to be so fun. There's going to be cool merch. There's going to be behind the scenes, bonus episodes. we've already got a little bit of that laid down. But if there's other shit you want, if you guys want polls, if you want Q&A, if you want to ask me anything, I don't fucking anything. Just let us know what you want from us. We just want to hear it, and we want to be involved with you guys.
Yeah, this means the world to us, and if you are willing to be a patron of ours in the future, let us know, and let us know what you want to see, because we're going to make it happen.
All right, now that we're done with all that shit, thanks for listening to us get sappy. We love you guys. Before we really go hard on this, I do want to give a couple of shout outs from TikTok. We did something new we're kind of doing is posting a kind of a question video on Mondays that will pertain to our new episode. And so
already got some great responses from people.
We asked about your favorite or, in fact, least favorite remakes. So first one I've got here, White Rabbit 066 wrote, their favorite was Evil Dead, and their least favorite was Friday the 13th.
Sorry, White Rabbit. We will not be talking Evil Dead, as you heard, but Friday the 13th is definitely going to be on this episode.
Yes.
We liked it more than you did, clearly, but yeah, we'll see what you think of our opinion.
Yeah.
P Hall 071688 wrote that their favorite was the Hills Have Eyes remake.
I'm sorry. I'm all for you if you like it, but that movie just fucked me up. I saw it in theaters when it came out. Me and my best friend felt like we had to walk out armed and loaded to go to her car. It was terrifying. We didn't want to sleep. It's a fucked up movie.
It's a hard watch. It is. So if that's your favorite, kudos. I know a lot of people that like it. It's a hard watch for me though, so
yeah.
It's one I won't be watching anytime soon, but kudos to you. Now, P Hall also said their least favorite was Black Christmas 2019. I didn't even fucking watch that.
Yeah, we didn't see this. I remember we saw the trailer and we're like, we know everything now. And it's like, obviously it's a remake, but it was like, even if you had never seen any Black Christmas, that trailer just gave all of it away, and I've heard a lot of shit things about it, so I'm not too surprised. I think it was a big disappointment all around.
I agree. It looks like we didn't really miss a lot there.
Right.
Yeah. Elena Vasquez 852 wrote, she just wrote Nightmare on Elm Street, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and Poltergeist, leaving us with the mystery. Is that your favorite? Is it your least favorite?
Or is it an in-between? I don't know. I don't really... There are a few people I have seen who've liked the Nightmare on Elm Street remakes. I will die on the hill that it's probably one of the worst movies ever.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Rob Zombie's Halloween we're going to get to, and Poltergeist we also will get to. So I'm excited to kind of get to those, see what Elena Vasquez thinks here.
Yeah. Future Disney Villain 1023 wrote their favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street. Their least favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street. Excuse me.
Yes.
And we would agree with that. That's a pretty shit fucking remake.
With this person now. Thank you. We love you.
Yeah. Can we be future Disney villains with you? We would love that. Barb Wire just got in under the wire of recording and wrote their favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 and their least favorite is Evil Dead. Disagree with it being their least favorite in any circumstance. It's just a really fucking good movie. But what better place to start with than Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003? In my opinion, probably one of the best horror remakes, if not the best horror remake.
It's a strong fucking movie. Now, before we started recording, I did say that there is a little bit of gray zones with this movie in the fact that there's some kind of major things that they changed. So obviously your main character is not named Sally.
No, it's Erin. Her name is Erin. Jessica Biel takes the place of Sally Hardesty in this one. No, so yeah, obviously this is made like 30 years later after the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, no Sally Hardesty, no Marilyn Burns. It's Jessica Biel playing a character named Erin.
Even
great
the
cast.
Hitchhiker, obviously, big difference with the movie.
Right. Hitchhiker's a big difference because the hitchhiker in this one is not a member of the Sawyer family. It's a victim of the Sawyer family, which in the first movie, they don't even have a fucking name.
Right.
So yeah, they're not even the Sawyer family. But yes, some big differences. Big differences story-wise, big differences plot-wise, character-wise. It's a lot that has been changed.
But there's so much that's the same setup.
It is.
And everyone calls it a remake. No one calls it I guess it's kind of reboot, kind of remake. It has a lot of those gray areas, but we ended up landing on a remake, and it's a solid one. I fucking love this movie. It's probably one of my favorite Leatherface entrances whenever the guy's banging his cane on the floor.
To signal him?
Yeah, and he fucking swings the door open and revs that chainsaw, and it's just this dirty fucking raw grinding chainsaw. I I'm fucking obsessed with that entrance, and it's just a scary movie. You get a lot more gore on scene, obviously, or I'm sorry, on screen. The original, there was a lot that was kind of off to the side, or it was kind of a little bit more in your head, and this one's a lot more in your face.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like we joke all the time that Blair Witch is one of those movies that doesn't show anything. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre shows more than that, but it really doesn't show a lot.
No, and that's what makes it scary, honestly.
It does. Yeah, I think it adds to the terrifying nature of it because you feel like, even though I've seen it tons of times, I still feel like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974, I still feel like I'm going to see something that I'm not supposed to see. It just feels dirty in that regard.
That's why that movie scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it, because the way it's filmed, the low budget, obviously, that the film had, it does feel like you're watching some weird fucking, like, home movie that you shouldn't be watching, and it's almost snuff film-like.
Very much so.
And it makes you feel really, really uncomfortable, whereas, obviously, the 2003, it's, more Hollywood polished.
It is, but it still has a very grimy feel to it.
It does. Everyone's fucking always sweaty and shiny.
Always sweaty and dirty.
Super dirty, very bloody. I love the blood in this movie.
Yeah.
It's a fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, and we just did the PG-13 episode 2 weeks ago. We talked about the kid from The Ring, who is also in this movie, and he has one of our favorite lines in the whole fucking movie.
Road don't go that far.
Road don't go that far. It's like
I don't know why I fucking love it. It's just the delivery of that.
Because he's got these fake fucking teeth, and he's like, we talked about how he looks like a little grown man, and he's just like, there's so much about him that is like, he's not supposed to be funny, but like all good horror movies, there's always something unintentionally fucking funny about them.
Yes.
And that kid is the unintentionally funny thing in this episode.
Yes.
Or this movie, I should say. Our episode. And one of my favorite aspects, too, is they get Arlie Ermy, who plays the sheriff. And this movie got a sequel in 2006, a prequel called Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. And we find out he's not really a sheriff.
Right.
He's just some fucking guy who took a sheriff's outfit and is just parading around town like he's the fucking sheriff.
Yeah, that's why he's like psychotic in this movie.
Oh,
like,
it's
more than what a normal Texas cop would be.
He makes so many inappropriate comments, like when they're trying to move the girl's body out of the van.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so disgusting. And he says shit, and he's like, I love when he looks at the guy and he's like, I bet she's real fucking sorry that she got her blood on your goddamn clothes. Yes. So fucking good. And then when he's got the dude in the back of the truck with the gun, like he's basically telling him put the fucking gun to his head and shoot himself.
He's like making him like, and where was she sitting? Like, it's just, it's so comfortable. And I can't think of the actor's name that plays the kid that you were just talking about for that role, but he's so good.
He's good. We talked about him in The Ruins, and I still couldn't think of his name then, and I can't think of his name now. If you guys think of the name, let us know. He's a great actor. But yeah, he's the kid in the back who, Arlie Ermey's character is trying to reenact the girl's suicide, and he puts the gun in his mouth. It's such an intense scene. Like, you think he's really going to make him kill himself, and it's fucked up.
Yeah, honestly, because it's like, it's a real gun. It's a real loaded weapon. It's, it's just fucking, ugh.
Yeah, and the way he's shaking when he points the gun at him. It's one of my favorite scenes, and it's a scene that I don't see people talk about, but I really liked it.
His name is Jonathan Tucker.
Jonathan Tucker. Why couldn't we remember that name? It's such a simple, easy name to remember.
Simple for me is difficult to remember, unfortunately.
True. That's true. Jonathan Tucker, we give you a Horror Zoid shout out because you're a fucking great actor, man.
I mean, honestly, with the shit he's been in, he's Scream King material.
Yeah, and he had a great spot in Hannibal. Yes, I loved him in Hannibal. He had a great guest spot there. So he's been in some of our favorite horror shit, especially this one, though. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. So he really stole the show, in my opinion, because that scene alone really it hit me hard. Like, it sticks with me to this day.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, could you imagine just being in that position?
No.
and then, you got Jessica Biel as Aaron. Eric Balfour has a great role in the movie as her boyfriend. And isn't there a scene it looks like he's going to propose to her, but he ends up getting fucking murked? It's like,
I think he's got the ring like in his pocket.
Exactly. He's got the ring, but of course he gets fucking taken out by Leatherface because why not?
And the meat hooks in this movie, like, special shout out to like carrying a scene. The meat hooks, because you have in the original movie, whenever he lifts the girl and he drops her on it, again, you don't really see anything other than you see the hook in like the foreground when he's walking in. You see him lift her and drop her, and it's kind of like, okay. And I think there's a little bit of fake blood. This movie is unfucking comfortable with the meat hooks. They do well.
Yeah, the scene with Aaron, and I forget the other character's name, but the one of the friends who's with him, where she's grabbing his legs,
trying
and she's
to lift him up.
Trying to lift him up.
Oh,
that fucking scene gets me every time.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable.
It's hard to watch, kind of, man.
It's up to par for me, and this is a movie we haven't really talked about a whole lot, but in Midnight Meat Train, there's meat hooks. And it's like the idea of being lifted, but then like dropped, but you're still on the meat hook, and like it's just going to hurt even more. It's one of those things that's like super illogical. It's not probably going to happen to me ever. I'm not going to get flung up on a meat hook, but it's the scariest thing in a movie to me.
It seems like it's the most painful thing to convey in a movie, and it's easy because if you think about it, like we talked about it in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Tobe Hooper, the way it's filmed is like you said, you don't see a lot. You see the meat hook,
see the hook,
you see the girl go quote on the meat hook, but she's really not on there. You don't see it penetrate the skin,
cry out,
right?
And that's it. And it's like it's obviously he's just setting her up on something higher, and the meat hooks are behind her.
And this one you see a little bit more in the 2003 remake. You see a little bit more when she's lifting him up and he gets dropped back down on it. And even when Leatherface puts him fucking on it, you see more. But at the same time, you still don't really see everything.
Right.
Because it's one of those things like where if you were to kill somebody like this, it'd be painful. But when you film it, you can film it at angles to where you're just looking at actors' faces and other body parts and getting the impression that, fuck, this hurts.
Yeah, honestly.
It's so well done. And like the original and the remake, both... One of the few instances where you get a fucking solid follow-up 30 years later.
Yeah.
And this was a time, before we get into more remakes, we got to cover, this was a time when we were getting remake after remake after remake.
Oh, yeah. Early 2000s was like, just, that's all you were getting, it felt like.
Yeah, I'd say from the late 90s to the late 2000s. So like a decade, maybe a little bit more there, 10 to 12 years where it was just fucking every single thing that came out horror-wise that you heard about was a remake.
Yeah.
And a lot of those are going to be on this list today. But yeah, this was one where I think by this point, by 2003, we'd had so many shitty remakes that we were like, ooh, this is going to be bad. I remember thinking this is going to be really bad.
See, you say that, and I remember, and you anyone listening, just stop what you're doing right now, come back in a second, go to YouTube and watch the fucking trailer, the original trailer for this. It had me so fucking hyped. And I didn't care at that point. I didn't think it was going to be bad. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah.
And it was it's one of those trailers that does exactly what it needs to, but then it actually delivers. Because we did get a lot of really good trailers and then really shitty movies. But it was one of those, I was just like, this is going to be fucking good.
See, you thought it was going to be good? I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be bad. Now, I will tell you this. I saw the trailer for this, thought it was going to be bad, saw the movie, thought it was amazing. Then the trailer for the sequel, the prequel, the beginning comes out, and that got me hyped.
Right.
Because I love the characters. Like, after seeing it, I love the fucking characters. And you get more of them in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. Like, fuck, man. Yeah. I love that one, too. Like, I can't wait. We're going to do a franchise breakdown on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And when we do... Oh, fuck.
Do your thing, cuz.
No, not that one. Texas Chainsaw 3D, fuck that.
I mean, we gotta talk about it. You're gonna do franchise.
Fuck, no. We'll stop at the beginning.
All right, well, let me freshen your palate here.
Thank you, please.
With one of my, I think we put in our, somewhere in one of our top 5 all-time best horror movies, a comfort movie that we love to put on, relax, go to sleep to. In 2017, we got the remake of It.
Oh, I love this movie so much.
And it is perfection in every way to me.
It really is. I can't think of a better movie over the last 5 years. It might be the best movie we've received. It, and we're talking about It Chapter 1, not It Chapter 2. It Chapter 2 was good, but we're going to focus on
Chapter 2 was good, but it wasn't as perfect. And yes, we are going to focus on the first one. Obviously, you're kind of like, is it a remake? The original was a miniseries. Yes, we know it was a miniseries, but it's a remake. And if you look at it this way, it's still in 2 parts. And if you watch it together, it's a fucking miniseries to me. So...
It is a miniseries when you think about it. Yeah, it's pretty much a straight up remake. I like that. Yeah. Fuck everybody who says it's not a remake. Although I don't know anybody who doesn't say it's a remake. But fuck anybody who does.
But fight me if you do.
Yeah. But fucking fight her.
But this movie, obviously, You've got an amazing cast of young actors and actresses. Sophia Lillis being our actress there, but
Jaden Martell, Finn Wolfhard.
Yes. I mean, come on. They're all fucking amazing.
Every kid in this movie.
Every single kid.
Yeah.
Is just perfection.
I feel bad for them because this is like the best performance I've seen out of all of the kids.
See, and you say that, and I love Jaden in a movie that we're going to be talking about in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Jaden's great, but man, you can't beat him as Bill. Bill.
Yeah.
You say something, Billy. Oh.
I was gonna say, and our supporting cast, obviously, the bullies and the icon himself playing Pennywise, the dancing clown. I don't even know where to start. Because I could gush.
Well,
I could sit here for an hour and a half
with
and
Bill.
talk about
Let's
it.
start with Bill, because the discussion that everybody asks, because this is a remake, is Tim Curry or Bill Skarsgård. And don't ever ask me that, because I'm not going to have an answer for you.
There is no picking.
No, they're both so fucking good at playing this role. Tim Curry set such a high standard. I think anybody who is our age and grew up around that time and saw that fucking box at Blockbuster or like I would see it on sale at like fucking Kmart for like $5, the 2-pack VHS thing of just Tim Curry looking maniacally into the camera in that Pennywise makeup. Yeah. I didn't think anything would be as scary as that until fucking Bill put on the makeup and did the fucking same role, but in a completely, vastly different way.
Right. And that's one thing for why I couldn't ever pick a favorite, is they're both just so brilliant for different reasons. I mean, you have the classic look that Tim Curry gives. I love the costume design for the 2017 Pennywise, with it kind of being a little bit more drab and sad, and he only ever has red balloons, which is something I really like about the Tim Curry. There's different colored balloons in the miniseries.
I always remember the yellow one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's traumatizing as a child whenever I would see that on. And there's that scene where he's like out in the middle of the field with the balloons, and he like kind of does a little bend and wave, and his mouth is open and he's pointing and laughing. And it was so fucking scary. But I remember seeing I don't remember what movie I went and saw, but they showed the first like couple of minutes of the interaction with Georgie and Pennywise as a teaser. And I was just like, holy fucking shit, this is going to be absolute perfection.
Which is weird because it's one of the best scenes in the movie. Like, I'm almost surprised they gave it away. Now, the movie gets arguably better, but that was such a pivotal scene for them to just give away for free.
Right.
But it shows that if they're willing to give that amazing of a scene away for free without, you paying to see the actual movie, can you imagine how fucking incredible the rest of the film's going to be?
Yeah, and it was perfect. And I think one of the big things thinking about it, a lot of the reason why I see people complain about part 2 more than 1 is the CGI that is a lot more prevalent in the second one as opposed to the first. There's a lot more practical shit in the first one.
I don't know, this one has a decent amount.
But it doesn't really bother me. I don't know. Like, it might just be me. I think people were just, I don't know, did you want the weird giant spider from the miniseries? Because I really liked fucking the way they did the design for part 2.
I saw a lot of people complain about the ending too, that they bullied him to death basically, which is weird, but I thought it was fine. I didn't have a problem with anything that they did in chapter 2. But chapter 1 was definitely a lightning in the bottle kind of moment. Like, I like chapter 2, but I sincerely don't think any film is going to be able to capture the magic that they were able to get in that first movie. You've got Andy Muschietti, one of our favorite directors. We talked about him not too long ago when we were talking about Mama, and that was really his only movie, and then they decided to give him It. And you're like, holy shit, what a chance they're taking on this guy to lead this project. But he did such an amazing job, and he got this great cast of kids. Some of them we'd heard of.
The kids are amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and you're talking about the scene that you're amazed that they gave it away, but Jackson Robert Scott,
I want to say,
is Georgie, and the way he sells that fucking scene, like he's screaming for his brother, crawling across the rainy street with one fucking arm, and it's just with the little yellow coat, and it's just perfection. And anytime he comes back in the movie with these weird, I almost said flashbacks, but these weird illusions from Pennywise to fuck with Bill, he just gets better and better and better.
He does. For being so young, he delivers such a really stellar performance.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect a kid that young to be able to act his ass off the way Jackson Robert Scott does, but man.
So good.
So good. And you talk about that scene. When you start the movie off, ripping a fucking kid's arm off and just leaving a bloody trail.
Right.
How do you build upon that? How do you improve upon that? They do it, but you're left wondering it when you watch it for the first time. You're like, this is where we're starting. It's only gonna escalate from here.
Yeah.
And if I've said anything on the show, I know I've said I fucking love when movie starts off and they're killing kids. Like, it's gonna be a fucking crazy fucking movie.
It goes hard, and it rocks the boat because it's, it sounds weird to say, but it's like you can kill teenagers all day long. Mm-hmm. And you're like, whatever, go Jason, why are they having sex in the woods? But then you take a little kid who's just like, I'm playing with my paper boat, and you fucking rip his arm off and drag him in the sewer. You're like, shit.
Right.
that just fucking happened.
That is exactly what you're thinking.
And it keeps going. I mean, there's scenes in this movie that are freakishly uncomfortable. And I can see why, as a child, I was so scared of it. I related so much with Beverly, obviously, as a kid, being the girl who was always hanging around playing with boys and playing football as a little tomboy kid. But that's kind of how you feel like their dynamic is. That's the way she carries herself. And Sophia Lillis does amazing. She's perfection. I want to see her in anything and everything.
Yeah.
We've talked about her quite a bit, but...
Yeah, because we talked about her with Gretel and Hansel.
Yeah.
And she's a star on the rise for sure. In fact, we just saw... right before we recorded this episode yesterday, we saw the poster for the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and she's fucking on it. We're like, holy shit, this kid is blowing up.
That movie could be absolute fucking dog shit, but it's still cool as fuck.
Yeah, it's a big budget, big project from a big studio, and they're putting a lot of money into it. And for them to trust a kid like Sophia Lillis, on the poster, it shows you, I mean, between it and Gretel and Hansel alone, she is proven that she's a heavy hitter, and she's what, like 19? Fuck, man. Yeah, I could have never carried a movie at 19.
I would say between her and Finn Wolfhard alone, and obviously Jack Dylan Grazer, he's been in Shazam and other things, and I love Eddie.
That kid was one of the funniest fucking parts of the whole movie.
And that's the thing is, whenever I say it's a comfort movie, I'm not fucking kidding. Whenever I got Stevie to watch this, it was like we watched it every day, all the time. It's like, what do you want to put on?
Yeah,
like
we would just leave it in our Blu-ray player, just hit play, and just let it go.
Between the score you get from Benjamin Wallfish, who does
one of the best
amazing,
composers.
Beautiful music, to the constant quotes that we can just say at each other from the movie, especially from fucking Eddie.
Eddie's the most quotable character easily.
I would say between him and Henry's got a couple.
Henry Bowers is pretty,
but that's the thing.
Nick Hamilton. Can we talk about Nick Hamilton?
Nick Hamilton, listen, I know you like to make cocktails on your TikTok live. I need you to do more fucking horror movies. Yeah. Please.
Yeah. We need Nick Hamilton more horror movies.
We adore you.
He, as Henry Bowers, he perfectly summed up every fucking bully.
Yeah. The Henry and Mike and Henry and Ben shit is very uncomfortable. A very funny memory that we have of this movie was watching it over at Stevie's mom's house. And she kind of steps in and she's watching this scene a little bit. And it's the part where they're on the bridge and they're bullying Ben. And he decides to use his switchblade to carve his name into his stomach. And your mom's just going, oh my God, oh my God. Oh. And it's like, yeah, it's uncomfortable. They're bullying a child. They're literally cutting him.
Yeah, physically fucking cutting into this kid.
And then chasing him through the woods. It's like, it's uncomfortable. But
what do they say? This bridge is known for two things: sucking face and carving names.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. That scene where he is carving Henry into Ben's abdomen.
Yeah.
And then when you see it in chapter 2, come back with the little, the Pennywise getting in everybody's head. Oh, terrific.
And the support bullies. I love the kid that plays Hochstetter, he's got the can of hairspray there.
Owen Teague is his name. Great young actor. Yes. Really another one who's on the rise. Mm-hmm. Love him. Yeah. Hochstetter, terrific.
Yeah. And of course, I love Wyatt Olaf. Stanley's a very tragic character. Part 2 is very sad, but very, very well done for his unaliving scene. And of course, Bill Skarsgård with his freaky fucking smile and his delightfully little goofy eyeball trick that he can do. And I remember seeing the interviews where he would do the smile without the makeup on, and you're like, oh my God, it's so cool.
It's still fucking creepy without the makeup. That's how you know. That's the sign of a good horror movie villain. When they take off the makeup, they're still just as fucking scary.
It makes me think of the legendary Jim Carrey whenever he does the Grinch face without the makeup. And it's like, yeah, that's fucking Jim Carrey.
So you say Jim Carrey, I always go back to like Karloff. You know, when he's not the mummy and not Frankenstein, he's still a pretty intense, scary looking fucking dude. Like, that's the crazy thing about it all. Like, those are great horror icons. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. It, Chapter 1, we could go on for days and days and days, but we've got more movies to get to. In fact, our next one is probably the one trivia note that you hate your fucking friends for when they say, what's your favorite remake? The Thing from 1982. Yeah. It's like, wait, that's a remake? It's like, yeah, it is, because the original is actually from 1951. It's called The Thing from Another World. Yeah. If you have a fucking friend like that, you can now tell him that, oh, no shit, I know it's a remake.
And I feel like this is one as well that a lot of people, they'll say The Thing, but I'm the person who will never just call it The Thing. It's always John Carpenter's The Thing. I don't know why. It's a thing I do. But
well, I think because now we officially have 3. We have The Thing from Another World, we have John Carpenter's The Thing, and then we have The Thing from 2011,
which is a prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing. It is not a remake, so don't come at me about that. Yeah, just watch it. It's a prequel. It's a decent movie. Obviously, you know the fucking ending. Yeah. But we're not talking about that one today. We're talking briefly about the 82 The Thing, which is iconic on all fucking levels, whether it's the practical effects, the setting, the cold, the creature design. It's perfection.
It is one of those movies whenever anybody says, what movie do you rank 10 out of 10 or rate 10 out of 10? For me, it's always The Thing.
Yeah.
Like I talk about Psycho being my favorite movie ever, and it is. And it's one of the best movies ever made. I rank Psycho as the best movie ever made. Really close number 2, though, is The Thing. The Thing is one of the most perfect horror movies ever made, one of the most perfect sci-fi movies ever made. It's the reason cinema was invented, in my opinion. It is the epitome of why we go to the movies, why we see movies, why we love horror so much. Because you have the fact that the guys can't trust each other. And they're in this isolated setting where nobody knows what the fuck to do, and you have to rely on each other because you're the only support system anybody has in the whole area. And once you take that away, you've literally created one of the most horrifying situations. That's all John Carpenter had to do, and then everything else is just icing on the cake at that point.
Well, and something that was always really, really scary about this movie that has nothing to do with any kind of heads crawling across the floor is the idea that I could be just sitting there working with these people and not know that it's me.
Yeah, somebody brought that up recently, and I feel like every few months somebody brings this point up with The Thing where you don't know it's you.
Right, like that scene when they're the blood test scene. They're all sitting there, they don't know. Yeah, and if they do know, obviously they're not showing it, but most of them don't know. No, and it just fucking happens, and that's so scary to me because it assimilates so quickly and it takes over and becomes you so quickly that you don't even remember that it happened.
I mean, fuck, the scene where they're doing the paddles to his chest and it fucking opens up and it fucking just chomps down on the guy's fucking wrist. Like, oh my God, like
to the ceiling.
Like, it's one of the most bananas fucking movies that you'll ever see.
See, and everyone says that is like their scariest scene. Like,
I don't think it's the scariest, but it's definitely fucking bonkers. Who would have ever thought of somebody's chest opening up and then chopping a guy's hands off?
Looking like a fucking bear trap. Yeah. But there's also, you have so much from the setting, which I love because you don't get this in a lot of horror movies. You don't get the cold. And it's another reason why I like 30 Days of Night. Is it's a setting that not only is it isolated, it's not just another in the middle of the woods. It's like you can't fucking leave this place. No matter which way you run, you're going to die.
Right.
Whether it's the elements, whether it's a creature, whether it's a foreign country, because there's different places out here and they don't quite understand each other. And there's a lot of fear there. But you also get the really uncomfortable scene with the kennels where there's like the dogs that like merge and change. That's uncomfortable. If you like animals, that's a heavy trigger warning if you've never seen this movie, because there's dogs that aren't necessarily killed in front of you, but they are infected and they change into this fucking creature with tentacles and its head splitting open. That to me is the scariest fucking scene in that movie.
There's so much that's scary about it. And I think the biggest thing that works about this movie, and the reason why it will always stand the test of time and why it will be regarded as a 10 out of 10 by most people in the horror community, is because one thing that the horror community loves to do is everybody loves to nitpick their horror movies.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but everybody loves to nitpick horror movies. But what this one does is you can't nitpick it. I defy anybody to watch John Carpenter's The Thing and nitpick anything, because it's like what you said. If you run in any direction, you die. So that eliminates the, why don't they just run away?
Right.
Why don't they just escape? Why don't they just leave? Everybody fucking says that about every fucking situation. But this one, literally, you can't.
Yeah.
Terrific.
And if anything, something about the prequel that came out that I really like is whenever they realize that this thing is in their base, they like hide all the keys and they cut wires and they take shit because they're trying to prevent this thing even leaving and getting out to the human world to infect more people. And so even if you could leave, like, would you let anybody? And that's why I love the end of this movie. It's like no one fucking makes it, really.
That last fucking scene with McCready and Childs sitting there and and I love everybody dissects that fucking scene. It's one of the most dissected endings. Everybody's like, is it McCready? Does McCready know? Because somebody said like, oh, because he doesn't take a drink. And they're like, because that's the sign that it's him now. And it's like, no, you don't fucking know. You don't know it's you. So there's no fucking way. I'm telling you, it is. But it is a great ending, and it is great to analyze, and it's great to dissect. And we say this about a lot of movies, but if you haven't seen it, it is a true classic. Go fucking watch it.
Now, the next one is going to be pretty brief. I feel a lot of people love or hate this one, but Child's Play from 2019. I enjoyed it. Listen, guys, I get it. It's a different fucking Chucky with a different voice. But if you could pick anybody to be Chucky, why not the fuck Mark Hamill?
Yeah. Like, I don't understand the hate this movie gets. It's one of those where I've heard so many people say that they would probably like it if it wasn't called Child's Play.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Like, I don't care. Like, it's a new generation. It's this cool technology. Like, it's just a new take on it, a new spin on it. Yeah. It's no different than taking some of these other movies and throwing them 30 years in the future and remaking them to fit a new time. It got a lot of young horror fans into Child's Play who maybe had never seen the originals before, and it's really just not that bad. And plus you get Mark Hamill singing a fucking weird song, and it's just fun.
You are my body until the end. Creepy as fuck, man.
I agree that the design of the doll, I felt like was a little bit too creepy.
I didn't mind the design. It's supposed to be creepy, but I think a lot of people were worried that it was going to replace the original series, which it's not. As we see, Don Mancini has kept the original going,
and we have a fucking TV show.
Yeah, we're gonna get a third season, hopefully. Fingers crossed. You know, it's like, this is harmless,
but it's a fun installment. I honestly am a fan. I can't think of the kid's name that is in the movie. And I don't know. It's got some solid kills, some fun kills, really good humor. Like, it's campy Child's Play. Yeah. Like, it's fine.
Again, we both enjoy 2019, the Child's Play remake. A lot of people don't, but I mean, it's perfectly harmless. The original series is still going. The original canon is still there with Brad Dourif voicing Chucky. Like, if you like that, it's still there. But for those of us that kind of wanted to see a new spin on it, this gave us what we wanted. And the one thing I really want to say about this one that I love is the death of I can't think of a better word for it, the pervert guy. Like there's the perverted, I think he's like the landlord or the security of the apartment complex where they live, and he's clearly like watching people on cameras, and it's just fucking creepy. But man, when Chucky kills him, kudos, man. Like, that was
thanks, Chucky.
yeah, thanks, Chucky. You did us a fucking service there.
But yes, it's something. I get that there were a lot of things that were different. You have like a disgruntled employee programming a doll to be evil instead of like a serial killer transporting his soul to a doll.
I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind that detail.
Again, it's something new and fresh to go into the whole updated statement of technology that it gives us for this movie.
Well, and it shows you that even the best technology can be corrupted. And because this is not just presented as just, oh, well, you know, somebody was able to fuck with something. No, this is presented as pretty cutting-edge, high-end technology, and yet somebody who has been trusted with the task of creating this doll, who in the beginning of the movie we see is actually kind of low on the totem pole. You know, somebody was able to exercise that kind of power. So I love that statement about somebody who seems powerless is able to exercise power over people bigger than him and more powerful than him. I thought that statement was great there. I thought the statement about technology and our dependence and our reliance on it, tremendous. I mean, fuck, we're recording this so people can listen to this on their phone. Like,
right.
Yeah.
It definitely has a lot more behind it than just like a crazed occulty serial killer putting his soul into a doll.
Which I find that funny. That's the one that people prefer, because to me that seems so fucking absurd that you're like, oh no, of course, if you're going to give me the more realistic technology, somebody fucking corrupted a tech doll versus a serial killer used a voodoo curse and put his fucking soul into a doll, and be like, well, no, I'm going to go with the more logical one. Nope, people fucking love that Ade du Dumbala.
Hell yeah.
Ade du Dumbala, give me the power, I beg of you. This didn't have that, and maybe that's what was missing. They just needed him to say Ade du Dumbala.
It needed some occult shit. And the next one I'm excited for. I love this movie. It's one that Stevie recently saw, but Fright Night remake from 2011. Solid vampire movie. Another example of taking something and updating the time frame. It's not a movie that's set in the 80s. It's set in a current day for when it came out. And so instead of having this Peter Vincent that's this like late night horror hosting Fright Night, it's like this Chris Angel like fucking magician dude, but it's David fucking Tennant.
It's the doctor.
And the doctor with a fake mustache and leather pants who doesn't believe any of the shit that he does, but he also has a really cool like occult collection of goodness.
When you showed me this remake, I was like, this can't be as good as the original. I mean, it's like, how do you take something that was that fun and that, like, I use the phrase lightning in a bottle again because it really was. Like, that movie should not have been successful, and yet we all fucking loved it. So you're like, how do you update that?
You add Toni Collette and make Colin Farrell Jerry Dandridge.
I mean, Colin Farrell is Jerry Dandridge. Like, man,
he's so good. He's hot, dude. He's
that could
so
have gone.
fine.
That could have gone either way. That could have been really fucking bad. But man, you're right. He fucking owned it.
Owned it. It's so good. And
you're right.
Honestly,
he's fucking hot as hell in that movie. Like, how do you like? It's you
also get the cameo of Chris Sarandon as like the random bystander on the highway.
And
he
is credited as JD. And I fucking love that because it's like, of course, like you got to give that throwback to Chris Sarandon. So you're right. That was a great nod to the original. But Anton Yelchin, R.I.P., does a terrific Charlie Brewster. Chris Mintz-Plasse does Evil Ed. This is a hell of a fucking cast.
It's an awesome fucking cast. And I think I remember kind of thinking some of the blood was a little like too CG-ish in a couple of the scenes. But that aside, I'm not bothered. Again, like you get a lot of really cool transformations like with the Evil Ed. Like he doesn't go full freaky half wolf thing like he does in the original, but he's got these like crazy ass fucking prosthetics and freaky ass teeth, cool ass claws on his hands. All of the transformations are fucking cool in this movie.
Transformations are dope as fuck. I do remember really liking that, but I think the scene that really stood out to me the most was the scene where they're like driving, like the scene on the road where they're trying to escape and leave. Like that scene was just fucking
it's
nuts.
Intense, dude.
It is so intense, and you're like, just when you think
Jerry's
it's gonna
like
end,
hanging onto the fucking car,
right?
It's like
just when you think it's over, it fucking keeps going. And yeah, Colin Farrell as Jerry Dandridge, tremendous. Like, he doesn't have a Billy Cole in this movie.
Right.
I that's probably the one thing that I was like, I would like to have seen him have like an assistant,
weird ghoul thing,
right? Like,
yeah,
I would have liked to have seen that. But he does such a good job on his own. They make him very clever. They make him very intelligent, as well as being sexy and attractive and being able to lure people in.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent because
like the mom makes a comment in the beginning. She's like, "You see the new neighbor?" And it's like, and then there's you have the whole scene where she's invited Jerry into the house and stuff like that, and it's just the charisma that oozes out of every character in this movie is just awesome. Like, yeah, it's not as campy, cheesy 80s, like obviously the original Fright Night with some of the music and stuff, but it does a very good job at standing on its own.
I think it does take itself a little too serious. I think you're right. Like, Anton Yelchin definitely played it more straight man versus how William Ragsdale played Charlie, where he's a little bit more over the top and like, deer in headlights kind of look, whereas Anton Yelchin's like, I'm a little too cool for school. Charlie was more of a cool guy.
He was definitely more of a cool Charlie. Like, even with Ed, you get the idea that he's almost like, Ed, you're into like stupid shit that I'm not into anymore.
Fucking
I'm trying
nerd.
to be, yeah. And so yeah, there's a different dynamic, but I feel like, again, it's one of those situations. If you do the exact same thing, people are going to hate it. If you change it, people are going to hate it.
Right.
So,
and one thing I think saved it from being way too up its own ass and taking itself too serious was David Tennant. Because when you watch David Tennant's performance in that movie, he's not taking it too serious, but he's also playing it very earnestly. Like, he wants to, like, you almost could see him like, I want to make Roddy McDowall proud.
Right.
And I think he really does. Like, that's one of those where I think anybody involved in the original, like, you can't find any flaws with it. Like, is it a great movie? No, but neither was the original. The original was this campy, fun, fucking romp in the hay of a movie.
Right.
And,
like, Charlie's so over the top, and I love it.
Yeah.
When he's all like, no, they were taken in coffins. I saw them. And he's just so, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he is a lot more played down in this, but I think it works for this version of this movie and this version of Charlie Brewster.
I agree. Everything that's been updated has been updated incredibly well. It's changed, but it's not a disrespectful change. Nothing in this was like, oh, you fuck this character over, fuck that character over. Every character was still kind of the same integrity that they had in the original. And they end up
where they did in the first one. They don't really change how that plays out. Now, one thing I would love to see, because they did do a Fright Night 2, but it wasn't a remake of the second movie, as you said. We kind of looked into that the other night.
Yeah,
but
no, it's basically another version of Fright Night.
Right, it's like,
again.
It's like what they did with Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, it is. It's very much Evil Dead 2. That's a great way to look at it.
Here's the same thing, but a little different, but also not as high budget. But I would love to see them legitimately remake Fright Night Part 2.
Yes, that's another one we checked out.
Holy shit,
you loved it and showed me recently. And yeah, Fright Night Part 2 deserves a real, true remake.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, maybe that'll be on our sequelizer.
Hell yeah.
That'll be our next sequelizer. You guys enjoyed that, I'm sure. The next one we're going to talk about here is one of my favorite remakes for sure. It's Dawn of the Dead 2004, directed by the polarizing Zack Snyder. I like how quickly everybody went from release the Snyder cut to like, oh yeah, you're still Zack Snyder.
Right, exactly.
Like, people love him in his movies or they fucking hate him. But I'm a big Zack Snyder fan. He can do no wrong in my opinion.
And Dawn of the Dead was a gift to us, and honestly what I feel like was peak zombie hysteria. Early 2000s, like, there was a lot of zombie shit, and it just kind of rolled right into the 2010s. But Dawn of the Dead is a scary movie. I remember seeing this one. I honestly, in 2004, I don't even know if I had seen the original Dawn of the Dead. I'm not gonna lie. But there's a couple of scenes in this one that really fucking scared me.
Oh, it's absolutely terrifying. Like, it is one of the scariest films that you will ever see. But so is the original. Like, the original is fucking terrifying too. And
it's one of those things where you're like, how do they capture that magic again? How on earth could you redo that again? Because let's not forget, George A. Romero was still making movies at the time. Yeah. He made Land of the Dead either the year this came out or just a year after it came out. Like, these came out around the same time.
Yeah.
So he was still he made Land of the Dead. Like, you're fucking asking for a lot of trouble by remaking a movie by a guy who's still making the fucking series.
Yeah.
And yet Zack Snyder comes out of the gate. This is his debut film, and he just makes one of the best zombie movies that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This might be, oh, fuck, man.
See, we haven't done a zombie episode
We
yet,
need to do a zombie episode, because I was just getting ready to say this might be the best zombie movie of the 21st century, but then fucking Train to Busan exists. And we just saw Anna and the Apocalypse, which we'll get to that here in a couple weeks. But yeah, there's been so many great zombie movies, but it really, you're right, it started with like that Dawn of the Dead, that peak zombie culture. At the time, it was... everybody was all about fucking zombies, because not long after this, we got people doing zombie walks, and cosplay started to slip more into the mainstream, and people would dress as zombies, and Walking Dead was like less than a decade after this. So yeah, this was like, this got the ball fucking rolling in a hard way. And like, even just like this movie, from that first fucking scene where Sarah Polley, her character wakes up with her husband, and that little girl is standing there in the doorway, and she attacks them. I love
fuck
that
little
scene.
Kids, dude.
I love that scene. One of my favorite memories is, I remember fucking 40-Year-Old Virgin came out the year after this movie came out. And there's a scene where one of the guys is watching it while Steve Carell's talking to him. Like, you can tell he's not listening to Steve Carell. He's watching Dawn of the Dead. And the fucking scene where the little girl jumps and attacks them in the bed, and he goes, "Oh, shit!" And it's one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. Like, to this day, I watch Dawn of the Dead, and I still see that scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin. But damn, it is still fucking really scary.
Yeah. And 2004, I feel like, was a great year for horror movies in general.
Yeah.
Another one I got to gladly see in theaters, and I remember that opening scene, like that fucking theaters screaming. Like, it's just awesome. Fucking kick-ass zombie movie. I'm excited to do a zombie episode, talk more about this one.
It would be a lot of fun. I mean, but you got so much in this movie. Ving Rhames, I love Ving Rhames' character in this movie, just big, tough, badass motherfucker, because that's who Ving Rhames is. Ty Burrell, like the fucking dad from Modern Family, is in this, and he's the biggest piece of shit in the whole movie. His name's fucking Steve. Of course his name's fucking Steve. Don't trust a Steve if you know any. Yeah. But Ty Burrell's in it, and I love his performance, and it's one of the funniest parts of the movie, in my opinion, too. Like, go back and watch it and think about that being the fucking dad from Modern Family. I crack up every time he's on screen.
Yeah, I agree.
Next one we're going to talk about is a remake that I don't think a lot of people liked, but I enjoyed it.
There's something fun about this.
There is something fun about this one. It's House on Haunted Hill from 1999. Of course, the original from 1959, classic black and white Vincent Price picture that just, I mean,
one of the scariest scenes.
It's so scary. The scene with that woman in the
scary old lady
in the cellar
with her hands up, and she's like gliding.
And the white eyes. It's spooky as fuck. But I love the original 1959. I love the relationship between him and his wife. Clearly, they fucking hate each other.
Right.
And you get that in this one. Jeffrey Rush, one of my favorite actors, portrays Vincent Price's character from the original. And he and his wife, played by Famke Janssen, have a very adversarial relationship as well. They take it a step further in this one, I feel like, but they definitely hit the same beats as the original.
Yeah, and add that lovely 1999 flair to the whole movie.
Oh, it's so good. It even has has one of my favorite cameos, Lisa Loeb, the musician from the 90s. Yeah. She plays the reporter in the beginning of the movie, interviewing Jeffrey Rush's character, where he takes them on the elevator and tries to make him think it's real, but it's just another one of his genius creations. It's so fucking hilarious. And you get the fucking bad acting from the early 2000s or the late 90s, early 2000s, because you have Ali Larter. This was right before Final Destination. And if I remember right, this was right before Final Destination. So she was like still getting her feet wet, and man, she was really bad. There's that fucking scene where they're in the basement and she sees Taye Diggs, but he's like, it's not Taye Diggs' character.
Right.
And she's like, I really thought you're a nice guy. And you're just like, oh my God, it's fucking painful to watch this. But it's so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's fun, haunted, spooky ghost movie.
Yeah,
like
great haunted
just
house
enjoy
movie.
it.
Really fun to just sit back and shut your mind off and just let it play. Chris Kattan in this one too. So much fun. So much fun in this movie. I love his little antsy fucking rascally character. He's just trying to get his check and leave. Like it's so fucking hilarious.
See, and you say that, and it leads us into our next one, which is also a fun little ghost movie with another odd character in it. Is 13 Ghosts from 2001. We've talked about it a bit before. I fucking love this movie. It's one that Bella Lugosly on TikTok was just like, we needed a fucking mini series. We needed all these sequels to go through all the ghosts. Like, that's what they wanted for sequels. And I fucking love that, because I would absolutely eat up sequels or a mini series for this, because the thing that's really cool about 13 Ghosts is the lore behind where all these ghosts came from and what they were in
it's like 5 minutes of the fucking film, but it's easily the most interesting part of it all, is where you learn the backstory to all of the 13 ghosts that are in the fucking mansion.
Yeah, but you don't really like see it in detail to like really understand it. I think it's an art book or concept book or something I've seen someone talk about online where
it was part of the DVD extras.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
so the DVD extras do go into more detail of the 13 ghosts and their backstories. But it makes you wonder, like, why would you not include that in the film?
Right, because you get a little bit of it, but then the rest of it, you're just kind of like, okay. So if you know some of the backstory, it makes some of them scarier, like the jackal. The scene whenever he attacks Shannon Elizabeth's character is a little bit more understandable when you know its backstory.
Right.
And there's so many, I want to know about what all of these were and what they were doing. Like, I want to see their fucking stories and their haunting movies.
I agree. I think it would make for a terrific miniseries. Our boy Mike Flanagan just signed a deal with Amazon Prime. I personally think his first project should be a 13 Ghost miniseries.
I mean, he fucking loves doing haunting shit. Let's go, man.
And Kate Siegel could easily play one of the 13 fucking ghosts. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it could easily happen. Raul Coley could play the dad, play Tony Shalhoub's character. I'm calling it right now. Mike Flanagan, 13 Ghosts. What are we waiting for?
Let's do it.
Yeah, come on.
Now, circling back to one that was briefly mentioned at the beginning as a least favorite is the Friday the 13th from 2009. I honestly fucking like this movie. It's the characters do not need to be deep in a Friday the 13th movie. I'm sorry. And the acting is cheesy. It's definitely it's 2000s.
Subpar,
right?
But it's Friday the 13th.
Their
subpar.
Character depth is so shallow. You don't even need like a pinky. Like, you just look at it.
It's so shallow. If you were to dive head first, you'd get a concussion.
Exactly.
It's that shallow.
But you also get some of the coolest fucking Jason kills. I love the sleeping bag one in this
where
movie.
He cooks the bitch in the sleeping bag.
Yeah. Because. And I'm trying to remember if he does it also in this movie or if it's another one I'm thinking of. But it's like, we've seen him pick people up in sleeping bags and like throw them against things. But it's like, she's like hung from a tree in the sleeping bag.
Yep.
And the fire is underneath her and she's just burning alive in the sack. Like, that's... No, like, just fucking stab me, bro.
Yeah,
like, I
dude,
don't
just take the
burn.
machete to me already. Fucking end it.
Like
I don't want to be cooked in a sleeping bag.
Showing my tits at a campfire.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
Yeah.
man. Just fucking kill me.
I fucking love the Friday the 13th remake. It's one I really waited to see, because this was part of that whole thing when Platinum Dunes and Michael Bay got the rights to do Freddy and Jason. And I remember I was like, fuck it, I'm not watching it. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm not watching it. But I finally watched it a few years ago, and I fucking really enjoyed the Friday the 13th remake.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly.
I think Derek Mears, who's one of my favorite performers in other movies, he's the Jason in this movie, and he's a spectacular Jason.
He's a spectacular Jason, and the director as well is the same guy. I sorry, his name.
Marcus Nispel.
Thank you. Did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. And they're both very different. I still feel like one is better than the other. But Friday the 13th, I'm sorry, it's not meant to be a deep involved movie. I'm not really going to get attached to too many characters. I'm just not. Like,
no, you're not supposed to get attached to anybody, but you do get, I mean, you get Jared Padalecki, you know, Mr. Supernatural is in the movie. One of the Panabakers, I forget if it's Danielle Panabaker or Kay Panabaker, but they play the main girl in the movie. She's as close to a final girl that we're going to get in this movie. Yeah. But, you know, she's not great. But again, it's Friday the 13th. Nobody has to be great in this movie. Now, one fucking guy I love, and I forget the actor's name, but he was just in the season 3 of You. He played part of the annoying couple that everybody fucking hates. But he's the dick in this movie. And he just plays the dick so fucking well. Like, the guy, like, he's basically like, oh, I'm just here to fuck bitches. And that's what he does.
Yeah.
And, like,
but, I mean, that's kind of Friday the 13th.
Right. It's
like,
so
they were
perfect.
making love.
It's
like,
so perfect for Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And it's like... but Jason, like, they take Jason to a new level. Like, there's the one where he kills them on the water. Like, he shoots the harpoon through the fucking dude.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
the harpoon's fucked up.
Harpoon kill is great. Great homage to Friday the 13th Part 3. Got a harpoon kill in that one, too.
Yeah.
But then Willa Ford, the pop singer, I think she's the one who he reaches down while she's in the water and fucking kills her there.
Yeah.
Great kill there.
I think
just
there's
so many solid
solid
kills.
Like,
easily.
Just, it's fucking Friday the 13th. If it's because it's not the original, then go watch the original. But if you want some really cool updated kills, watch Friday the 13th from 2009.
It's another great mindless horror movie you can just
put on.
It's a fun.
Make a fucking drinking game out of it if that's your thing. Like, it's fine.
It's very drinking game worthy. Now, moving on, we've talked about the ones we really like. Now it's time to get into some of the ones where making a remake probably wasn't the best idea.
All right. Now
so we're gonna pull the Band-Aid off and start with the worst of them.
Gotta rip it off here. Just say it.
Friday, nope.
Nope, you're fucking wrong. You can't even rip it off right. A Nightmare on Elm Street from 2010. Fuck this movie. Fuck everything about this movie. I'm sorry. It's just absolute fucking hot garbage. Stevie has never seen this movie.
It's one I still have not watched.
It must be watched for free. If I see it for sale anywhere, I always see it and look at Stevie and go, they should just fucking give this away for free. It should be a fucking coaster for my water. It shouldn't go into a DVD player. I don't even want to own it. I know I don't get really passionately hateful about things, but I do with this movie. Because if you listen to our very first episode, A Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those movies that I saw when I was way too young, and it opened the gateway that is horror for me.
It holds that place in my heart, too, and I think that's why I haven't watched the remake, is because I've heard so many people shit on it that Freddy is so special to me, I can't have any of it ruined. I just can't bring myself to do it. And it's the criticisms that I've heard, first off, I hear that Jackie Earle Haley did a pretty decent job, as decent as possible, playing Freddy. But Rooney Mara, who I've never really been a fan of, she plays the lead actress in the movie. I don't know if she's I don't know if she's Nancy or fucking what, but I heard her performance is not great. But I've never been a fan of hers, so that was not a big selling point to get me in the theater.
She is Nancy, by the way, but and I hate to fucking even say it, but my man Kyle Gallner's in this movie, and I'm sorry that you were in this. Yes.
What?
Yes, he's in this movie. I think it's pretty brief. I don't remember it being too
how
long.
Dare you?
But it hurts me. It's not that the cast for this is particularly bad. It is the writing and directing for me that I can't get into. The CG pisses me off so bad. I'm sorry. If you in 2010 cannot do that badass scene where Freddy's hands claw thing comes through the wall and it looks like the wall's stretching. It's like that was just lighting and fucking spandex. And they made it all CG and he does this weird swoop move and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. I have seen that like on YouTube and shit, and it looks really bad, and it's another reason why I can't bring myself to watch the full movie, because if this is just one scene, I don't think I could go through a whole fucking movie of this.
Right.
But one thing I do want to note is that the director of this is named Samuel Bayer. This is his only feature film he's ever fucking done. He said that after this movie, this is not a direct quote, but essentially he summed it up as saying, basically the film was such a pain in the ass to do, he went back to doing commercials and fucking music videos because this movie was such an arduous task to complete and make. So it sounds like
it was arduous for me to fucking watch.
Well, it sounds like nobody enjoyed being in the movie. Nobody enjoyed making the movie. Nobody enjoyed watching the movie. This is when you say give it away for free. I say fucking burn it.
Yeah,
we don't need, can we all collectively agree to retcon something from our fucking societal think base?
Right.
I want to get this fucking movie out.
Because don't get me wrong, whenever I saw that they were doing this movie, I was pretty excited because I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wrong.
I also love Jackie, but it just... And I was like, oh, he's going to be great. His voice is going to be awesome. But then the way that they made him look, it just... I am not one of those people. I do not need Robert to be Freddy.
No, I'm willing to let another actor take the helm. And I thought Jackie, I also was really excited for Jackie.
Yeah.
He had just played Rorschach in Watchmen. He gave probably the performance of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
We were all really stoked for this movie. I'm not going to lie. But after I heard the initial feedback that it sucked and just continuing over 12 years now to hear how terrible it was, I don't fucking want to watch it.
Because I really do want to say it's not the casting for me. Because I know so many people, they want Robert to come back. They want him to be Freddy. I'm sorry, guys. The ship has sailed. It's not going to happen.
It's sad, but it's true. And
Right.
I think we should all be open to another actor playing Freddy. There's some great choices out there. I've heard some names thrown around.
Like, we've had different Michaels. We've had different Jasons. I get it that they're in masks. We've had different Ghostface. I get it that that's, the story, the plot. It's not always going to be the same person. But you have these characters that are unmasked, or even with the dolls, like in Chucky, and people are they're so just, I get it. We all love him.
Mm-hmm. I understand the passion.
He's a dear, beautiful fucking thing in the horror community, whether people are meeting him, whether there's videos of him, just the way he interacts with his fans. He obviously loves the fact that he's Freddy Krueger. But he's not going to be our Freddy Krueger forever. So for this remake, it's really not that it's Jackie. I love Jackie. I think if anything is really good in the movie, it's a lot of his performance.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much in this movie that just makes it not a good movie. And there's people that I've seen that are like, all right, listen, I'm going to try to watch it again. I will watch it again. I haven't seen this movie since 2010. I will watch it again if you guys want me to. But I'm still going to hate it because
it's going to be on Patreon. You're going to have to pay us to watch this shit. That's that's where I'm going to draw the line. You're going to have to pay us to watch this shit if you want to.
It's on our $100 tier.
Look, yeah, that's going to be the fucking epic mega tier, the Nightmare on Elm Street tier.
The Nightmare on Elm Street tier.
Yeah, that's you pay $100, we'll fucking watch it and we'll comment on it.
Yeah. There's too many bad things about this, and it's unfortunate, and I'm probably first in line, ready to see another attempt to reboot and remake this, and I will gladly watch it because we've seen it, we've talked about it. All of these other movies, they're fucking amazing.
Yeah,
we know it can be done. It just has to be done right. I'm not saying that on a high horse. I'm like, oh, it has to be done this way. It's just like, no, it's not a good movie.
Guys, we did a whole fucking episode on Rob Zombie. Clearly, we're not highbrow fucking horror fans here.
Right.
So we are not expecting the moon. We just expect something better than what we got. And one thing I really think that gives us hope that we could see something new is the fact that we just saw the Wednesday series drop on Netflix. We watched it. We loved it.
Dude, give me a fucking Freddy Krueger series. I'd eat that shit up.
But what I'm saying is we just saw the old Wednesday, Christina Ricci, literally pass the torch to Jenna Ortega and be the new Wednesday. I think if they make a Nightmare on Elm Street here in the next few years, you could easily have the same thing where Robert Englund has a cameo or a role and he passes the symbolic torch to the next person.
And it'd be even better if he played a janitor, like when Wes Craven was the janitor.
I think that's what it's got to be. You got to have Robert Englund taking the mantle of the janitor. And I think his name was Fred. I think Henry Winkler, the principal in Scream, says, "What's that, Fred?" Yeah. Or not you, Fred. Yeah.
And he's got the hat on and the
striped sweater.
Striped sweater. And it's the nod to Freddy. And I think that would be really cool. It's a Freddy nod to Wes nodding to Freddy.
It could be done. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about our next one. You heard Natalie on her soapbox. You heard Natalie drop some expletives about her least favorite. This is going to be my fucking least favorite.
Which is funny because this one's actually higher rated, and I can understand why, because again, Nightmare on Elm Street is just a hot pile of garbage, but Pet Sematary from 2019 was just...
You know my big issue with it. And I haven't really talked about this guy much on the show, but if you watch my TikToks, you'll see I fucking hate him. I fucking hate Jason Clarke. I don't know what it is about fucking Jason Clarke.
Man.
He is my least favorite actor. He has the most punchable face I've ever fucking seen in my life. He literally does the worst performance in every fucking movie I've ever seen of any actor.
He's just forgettable.
Look,
I forgot he was in, and don't get me wrong, Terminator Genesis, not a good movie. I still fucking forgot, and they put him in that movie.
He's a terrible, terrible John Connor. He's terrible in everything. The way I summed it up best, I did a video where I said, he's that actor where if he needs to be a strong and like very like powerful character and take charge, he comes off very weak and very just passive, and nobody wants to, like, he doesn't come off like a leader. But when he has to be very soft and kind of fatherly, like in this movie, he just comes off like a fucking asshole.
Right.
And he doesn't understand the assignment.
And I challenge you guys, please, to tell us a good movie with Jason Clarke. Not necessarily a good movie, but a good performance, because I believe it's in him. I think a lot of the time he is really just cast. Like, I'm sitting here looking, I'm like, he was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I don't even remember that. And I fucking love that movie.
Well, he was in the Winchester movie, and I remember being really excited to see that because I'm like, I love Helen Mirren, and it's a fucking horror movie about the Winchester house. But the minute I saw his name come across the screen, I'm like, fucking why? I literally, he is my least favorite fucking actor. And when I saw he was playing Louis Creed, I was like, look, the guy they had in the 80s was no fucking Oscar-winning actor by any means.
No one in that movie. Well,
no.
Maybe.
You had Fred Gwynne, Denise Crosby. You had a good cast.
But come on.
But fucking you can do better than Jason fucking Clarke.
Yeah.
Like, he is the worst actor in a leading role that I've ever seen. I would literally give him a fucking Razzie every year if I could.
Now, that thing aside, I think, see, you say that, obviously, it's a personal thing.
It is a personal thing. I'll admit it's a personal thing.
He could be I'm sure he's a very nice person. I just don't like his fucking movies. But the biggest thing, I think, that, not me particularly, but what we saw a lot of people really hate on this movie was the fact that Gage doesn't get hit by the semi.
I knew you were going to say that. I fucking knew it. Like, I knew you were going to say, wow, the biggest thing that this movie's missing is that a fucking kid doesn't get hit by that fucking semi.
Right. Like,
we don't get to see a toddler get fucking ran over in this movie.
Yeah, so that doesn't happen.
How
it ends
dare
up being
they?
the girl, and so they pick the girl dies, and then they bring the girl back.
Yeah,
so
it's Ellie.
It's a different dynamic. Yeah, Ellie.
Ellie dies.
Ellie
and
dies.
They bring her back. And I like, the effects are very cool. It's that part is
absolutely
like,
agree.
I think the design of her is really well done.
Yeah.
The deaths are really good. But yeah, there's just it totally lacks the charm of the original.
Yeah, and I think that they do kind of play a little bit more into some of the original source material. There's actually a little bit more of the what is actually happening in the woods. I think they even kind of show like a Wendigo type creature a couple of times.
Yeah. Thought I was watching Hannibal for a minute.
Right. So because you forget you're watching a Jason Clarke movie because it's
I want to forget I'm watching a fucking Jason Clarke movie.
There's a lot of really cool shit. I love the weird little kids with the masks. I love the cemetery.
Yes.
There's
John Lithgow is a worthy successor to Fred Gwynne. I love John Lithgow.
Yes.
He was a great... His line, though, of sometimes dead's better is it doesn't even measure up to Fred's, but
no, sorry.
It's he is a great replacement for Judd. Like that, there's very few actors I would put in that role, and John Lithgow's one of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Now, the next one we are going to just really graze over because we kind of shit on this before, but When a Stranger Calls from 2006.
Fuck When a Stranger Calls.
This movie's so fun to sit and watch and make fun of, and that's it. It's really, you need a group of people to enjoy this movie.
It's very riff tracks worthy.
Absolutely.
Like, I wonder if they've done this, and if they haven't, they need to get on it.
Yeah, we should check into that. That's definitely would be worth the watch.
Yeah.
If not, we're not professional and we're not trying to take their jobs. I don't think they're worried about that. But it's fun to just sit around and shit on this movie.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a TikTok live if you guys want to see that, where we shit on this one live. Let's do that.
Yeah.
That would be a great way to spend a fucking weekend. But yeah, I think we talked about it when we mentioned it on the PG-13 episode. This was directed by Simon West. If you know that name, he's an action movie director. He did the Lara Croft Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie. He did the Expendables 2 and our personal favorite, Con Air.
Yeah. And then did fucking When a Stranger Calls with it's just not a good movie. There's nothing great I can say about this movie.
It is the drizzling shits. And I can honestly tell you, the acting's bad, the writing's bad, the directing's bad, the editing's bad. It's one of those... But it's so bad, it's good. It really is. I enjoy watching it. It's got that perfect mid-2000s feel to it. Mm-hmm. The fashion, the style, the way the house is designed. Everybody in the late 2000s, that perfect time range, everybody wanted their house to look like this. The way these people had their fucking house.
This house makes me uncomfortable now. If there's anything about this movie... It's that I don't like most rich people houses from the 2000s, because you look at this shit.
It's too much glass.
Yes, thank you. Fuck that.
Way too much glass.
It's we just watched a movie, A Wounded Fawn, and they're in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I'm like, close your fucking blinds. And normal people will be like, why? We're in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, fucking exactly.
Yeah.
That is terrifying.
There are things that walk with skin that could fucking get you. Don't fucking do that.
Or just fucking people who are like, hey, no one's... I mean, you've seen You're Next. But that's how I feel about the house for this. So if there's anything, it's the set design is a delight. But it's just, you get this really bad phone call conversation. She's just not good.
She's so bad.
I love
what? Oh my God. What?
Oh my God.
Fuck.
They're calling.
Shit, no.
And then you get the call from inside the house part, and it's just, I don't know. And it has nothing, again, to do with the fact that this is a PG-13 movie. It's just fucking bad.
It's just fucking bad. It could be rated R. It's fucking terrible. Now, the next one that we need to talk about is near and dear to my heart. It is the Psycho remake from 1998, which, as you mentioned, you kind of touched upon it earlier. And I'll say it again. This is proof. If you do something completely different, people will hate it. If you do the exact same fucking thing as they do in Psycho, people will hate it. Just showing you that horror fans are some of the most cynical people out there.
Now listen, Zoids. If you are one of those people who's watched any of the remakes that we've talked about and you're like, it's not the original, then go watch Psycho from 1998, because it's a shot for shot, just different actors, and it's in fucking color. And people still hate it. It's literally the same fucking movie. I get it. It's not going to be the same performances, but it's still the same thing.
And even the cast, though, you have no reason to shit on it, because I'm going to name this cast for you, and if it were any other movie, you'd be like, I'm fucking there. Yeah. Literally, Vince Vaughn, Anne Heche, William H. Macy, Viggo Mortensen, Julianne Moore. That's your fucking cast, bro. Yeah. That's a fucking award-winning cast. And if you sit here and say, Vince Vaughn wasn't a good Norman Bates, look, Anthony Perkins will always be Norman Bates to me. Mm-hmm. But I love Vince Vaughn. I think he's a great actor. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of performances I like. Comedic, dramatic, it doesn't matter. I thought he did
he's
fine job.
Yeah.
I thought he did a fine job as Norman. I get it. It's not going to be the same fucking thing, but this was just...
But it's not But it's not... I mean, I know that there's other sequels, and I haven't even watched all of them yet. I think I've seen Psycho 2. But even then, it's not the best movie, even though it still has Anthony Perkins in it. It's not fucking Psycho.
Right.
It was almost bizarre. I'm like, y'all just let this fucker out. Y'all know what he did, and now he's just out and has his fucking house and hotel again. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
What concept is this?
Yeah.
But then you have this remake that's identical.
Yeah. It is. And when we say it's a shot-for-shot remake, that's not an exaggeration. It is literally the same movie with different actors. But again, I really like it. Gus Van Sant directed it. Legendary director. He directed Good Will Hunting, Finding Forrester, directed Milk. He's a great director. This is his only horror movie that he's made, to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. But I think think it was so well done. I think Hitchcock would be proud of it. Did we need a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho? No, absolutely not. We got one, and I thought it was well done. It could have been in the hands of anybody else, but it was in the hands of a fucking Oscar-winning director. Like, get over yourselves. Like, this is a perfect example. It's like people are not going to be happy with anything.
Watch the original.
Right, and I do. I like the original, but I can also enjoy this one. As somebody who sincerely, passionately will put this at the top of my list as my favorite movie ever, trust me when I say this remake is harmless.
Right.
It is just there. It exists, and that's perfectly fucking okay, man.
It's a love letter to Psycho.
Right.
Because Stevie owns Psycho more than 5 or 6 times. And
at this point, yeah.
And that's how you know, like, when it's your favorite movie, and I see people like this, they're like, if you like it, I buy it in another color. If I like it, I buy it in another color. And that's how this movie is. If it's an FYE fucking steelbook, or if it's a 40th anniversary, or if it's whatever 4K shit, fucking VHS, I don't know at this point, but we get it because you love it.
Yep.
And
this is just a further extension of that appreciation for a great film that I think exists. I would love to. Yes, I did enjoy Bates Motel, which deviated off of the path of the novel,
right?
And the
but
original
Freddie
movie.
Highmore, fucking iconic, and they did a lot of very shot by shot scenes, not perfectly, but a lot of very ode to the original Psycho. Whenever you get to the point where he's killed somebody and he's being investigated, and I love the part where he's sitting there eating the candy corn and he leans over and he looks at what he's writing, and we get those scenes, and Freddie Highmore, if anything, like if they were to do another fucking shot by shot in 2025 or some shit, I'd be like, get fucking Freddie Highmore, because he was great.
See, you say Freddie Highmore, I say Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, there's a few people out there even now that are like,
Although I did put something on Instagram a while back where I said I'd love to see Jordan Peele remake it, and if they do that, I think Lakeith Stanfield would make a great Norman Bates.
That'd be
like, if you don't know who I'm talking about, Lakeith Stanfield is the guy from Get Out who says, "Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out," and he's got that look, he's got that fucking attitude, and he's also in Knives Out. He's just a great actor. Like, I personally, I'm a huge Lakeith Stanfield fan. Oh, he's in Atlanta with Donald Glover. He's one of my favorite actors, and I think he'd be a great Norman.
He'd be awesome.
I think he'd be great. Yeah.
Now, one that's not really great, not really bad, is another remake that did really well with the original source material, I think, is Poltergeist from 2015.
Poltergeist, it didn't wow me, but I didn't walk away.
I really liked the clown puppet.
The clown puppet was good. Sam Rockwell is in it. I appreciate Sam Rockwell. I think he's a great performer. Jared Harris is another great performance in there, although I think
there's no real skeletons in this one.
There's no real skeletons. Like, maybe that's what was missing. I don't know. This one, just a Poltergeist remake, that's not a movie that I looked at and said, this needs to be remade. Like, it's just so well done.
Well, and there's so much surrounding the original movie. You know, it's been on, like, cursed films discussions, and all of the talk about the little girl and what she was going through.
Heather O'Rourke,
Yeah. And obviously, you know, it's fucking directed by Tobe Hooper. But it's like, it was okay for a remake. Like,
it's the world's okayest remake. Like, it's not bad, but you're not gonna walk away like overly impressed with anything.
Right.
It's a decent movie. Like I said, you can sit there, you can kind of shut your brain off, and it's a good horror movie.
Yeah.
But it is. It's one of those ones I never looked at the original Poltergeist and think, man, I hope they remake it, because this is what we got. I'll tell you what though. I'll tell you one thing that I think people don't like about this is we're 7 years later after this remake, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think anything bad has happened to the cast. So I think people are mad it broke the curse. They're
honestly,
like, I think people
they were just trying to make a less tragic version of the movie. Like, I don't know what they were really going for. It's just me. It's very in the middle. Like,
it is.
People, I don't think it's a really love it or hate it. It's just kind of like, it's okay, and it's kind of spooky, and there's some cool shit in it, and there's no real skeletons and no real movie curses, it seems. But
no.
I don't know. I don't know. We own it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. It's kind of forgettable for me.
It is. It's a very forgettable movie, but it's like, it is. It's just kind of middle of the road, mediocre.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but at the same time, I'm not going to like pop it in anytime soon and be excited to watch it again. It's just going to kind of sit on our shelf probably and just kind of collect dust.
But this is our point, though, is, you have remakes that have been shot by shot, like Psycho.
Yep.
You have ones that do pretty good with the original, just not as wow factor like Poltergeist. You have really shit remakes, like Nightmare on Elm Street, When a Stranger Calls, and kind of in the middle, fun, like Friday the 13th, where it's not particularly bad, it's not particularly good. And then you have iconic ones where people say, It 2017 is better than the original. Tons of people think that.
Right. I mean, The Thing surpassed the original to the point where nobody even thinks 1982's The Thing is actually a remake.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that I knew that it was a remake probably until the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
Honestly, seeing it as whenever I was a little bit older, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I had more access to the internet. I don't know. But it wasn't very out there that it was a remake. But you have iconic names like Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I know it's a fucking remake.
Mm-hmm. Remakes are such a touchy subject in the horror community, and I get why. We all hold these properties and these franchises and so near and dear to our heart, because but that's why they remake them, because we love them. And it's like, if we didn't love them, then they wouldn't pick these franchises to keep doing them. But we love them, we'll keep shelling out money for them, and of course they're going to keep making them. That's the cycle of how movies get made.
There's going to be some bad ones.
There's of course going to be some bad ones.
Something that Stevie and I have discussed a lot is, if someone came up to you and said, hey, what's your favorite movie? And you were like, Psycho. And they're like, do you want to remake Psycho? Here's a shit ton of money. You'd be like, yeah.
Right. No shit, man.
You can't be mad at a director with money for basically doing what they've wanted to do. We talked about Rob Zombie's The Munsters on a Rob Zombie episode. And I know it's not necessarily a remake. It's an addition to something. It's his version of something. But it's don't be mad at someone who has the money that gets to create what they want. Just be mad whenever they really fucking ruin it for you, I guess. And I know everyone's going to kind of interpret things differently, but a lot of these I'm not really mad at. They're just kind of there. It's just, again, Freddy is very special to me. And it's not that Freddy's really bad. It's just the movie's not good.
Well,
I want a new good one. That's really all that I'm mad about, is I want to be able to be the people that are going out and seeing all these new Halloween movies in 2018. I want that fucking crowd to go wild over a good Freddy Krueger.
I think there's potential for good Freddy Kruegers out there, and that'll be another discussion for another time. But we've had so much fun talking about remakes. This
has been a blast.
This really has. It's definitely
and there's
one of
so
our
many more
fun.
people mentioned that we want to talk about. And as we always say, there's going to be a part 2. We'll remake 2.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2. We'll remake this episode. We'll do all of the good shit
we'll
to it.
We'll make you question what the first one was even about.
We're going to do a remake of our own movie, just like David Cronenberg did with Crimes of the Future. Speaking of fucking remakes.
Right.
Did you guys know that David Cronenberg remade his own fucking movie? And we
no
let him get
idea.
away with that? Fuck that. I love David Cronenberg, but come on, sir. Let's exercise some self-control, David Cronenberg.
Do it again.
This has been a blast, guys. Thank you for joining us. And remember, drop us an email, follow us on TikTok, on Instagram, and we will see you next week. But until then, we'll leave you with this.
What the fuck do you do?
I sell televisions at Best Buy. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every weekend. Follow us on TikTok at HorrorZoidPod and send emails to horrorzoidpod@gmail.com with your thoughts, questions, and stories for us to read on a future episode. To all our Zoids out there, stay scary.